4th District of Lorraine County. We have to my right Mr. Bayne Anderson, and to my left Ms. Lorraine Dominguez. So, starting off, we'll have an opening statement by both candidates, starting with Ms. Lorraine Dominguez.
My name is Lorraine Dominguez. I was raised in Deming. We moved here when I was 4 months old, so I'd say not born here, but I have children in the high school. I have 2 daughters. I'm married to Gabriel Dominguez. We own Gabe's Fitness. I'm a very active community member. I've served on a variety of boards throughout Deming and for our community. And I don't know, that's it. I'm nervous, so I don't know what else to say.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez. Mr. Anderson.
Good evening. Thank you all for inviting us to this tonight. We appreciate your time for coming and sitting here and listening to us with all our great wisdom. I am, as well, a lifelong resident of Deming. And I should throw in, I guess, that many of you have already heard from me once today. So that's an inside joke for those who work in the school district. There was a spam email today that came out.
I got it.
Anyway, I'm a 25-year retiree of Deming Public Schools. I served in many different functions during the 25 years, most of it in Deming High School, serving several different responsibilities. And so, and one of them, by the way, was I was 8 years. I was student council sponsor for Deming High School. And I will tell you, I was the last student council sponsor who had a council who hosted the state conference in Deming. So I feel like I have a really good background and understanding of the school system and the high school and how things work, and I've worked very closely with students for many, many years.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
So now we're going to jump into an introduction section, and we are going to start with Mr. Anderson. What particular skills or experiences qualify you to serve as a school board member?
Well, first of all, I've already said, I worked as a teacher, administrator for 25 years in Deming Public Schools, so I have a really nuts and bolts background in what's going on. As a school board member, I went on and pursued the position of a master school board member, which requires a great deal of in-depth study and understanding of how school boards and law in New Mexico functions, of which I've hopefully brought back to the school board during the years. And I listen. I'm always talked to by employees and so without the district, and I listen and I respond to what they've said.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Dominguez.
What was the question? What particular skills or experiences qualify you to serve as a school board member?
As I mentioned before, I've been on other boards. I love our community, and I know that we can accomplish great things with proper support. I did mention that my girls attend Deming High School, and I feel that even as a community member, I'm very involved in the school as far as especially the athletic department. I don't have kids in every sport, but I make sure to come and just talk to people and watch the sports and talk to different students. So.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez.
All right. Next question. What particular skills or experiences qualify?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I prepared myself and I unprepared myself. How many board meetings have you attended in the past year, and what have you done in the past year to support our schools? And we're going to start off with Ms. Dominguez.
In the past year, I've attended one, which was last month, but in the previous years, I've been to several. I think they're very informative, and I do want to give kudos to the student council because I really loved what you all presented at the last meeting, and I feel that we're kind of like on the same page here as far as what we want to accomplish, right? So you're trying to increase student participation, and I'm trying to increase community participation, give more support to staff and to students. So just like you, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez.
Mr. Anderson, same question. How many board meetings have you attended, and what have you done in the past year to support our schools?
Let me answer backwards from what you're asking. Over the years I have been on the school board, I have missed 2 school board members. One, I was caught on an Amtrak train between here and Lordsburg, and the second one I was in the hospital. But other than that, I'm here for meetings. We've done lots of things to support the school district, including this building that we're in. But we've also worked with teachers, with principals on making sure that we're trying to offer the best thing we can for the students and the schools. And we always try to remember that the emphasis is the students, and that's where our function and our responsibility is for what the school board does.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
And now we're going to move into our portion of student concerns. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Ahmed to continue answering these questions.
All right. So the first question from students is, what inspired you to work for the schools, and why do you want to help the kids?
What inspired?
Go
Yes.
Ms. Dominguez.
Once again, what inspired me is having children in the school system, and also just noticing that I do want to promote better communication throughout the school district. I want to increase the accountability of the school board and improve community participation and school board meetings, especially because, as mentioned before, it's not on the front of the school page. You have to kind of navigate around it. I want to utilize our student section. I know they live stream games and different activities. I want to use that as well during the school board meetings, so people are more aware and they can replay it, because I know a lot of people can't make it at that time.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez. Mr. Anderson, same question.
Repeat, please.
Oh, here's the question. Sorry. What inspired you to work for the schools, and why do you want to help the kids?
Of course, as I say, my experience goes back a long ways. My goal was always to work with students, to share knowledge, to be able to work to improve students through what I could do for them in the classroom. And so when I retired, I could have just left it there and walked away and retired with 25 years. But I wanted to continue to offer something to the community, to give back for what the district had done for me, to working with the community. And so I hope, and my experiences is to try to continue to add with my experience to improve the district through offering my experiences and making the best decisions for kids.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Another student concern is, what flaws do you see and want to change in our school system, Mr. Anderson?
One of the biggest flaws I see is the fact that we put way too much emphasis on every kid going to college. Not every kid wants to go to college, and so we sort of leave those kids out in the cold because they feel like they're not part of the mainstream. There needs to be more emphasis on vocational schools and making students job ready when they leave the high school. As well, we need to continue with building improvements. We've built lots of new schools, including this one, but we still have a lot of construction that needs to be done to improve the school buildings for those other students who've not been involved in the major construction.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Dominguez, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
What flaws do you see and want to change in our school system?
I wouldn't call them flaws, but I feel that in everything you do, there's room for improvement. So, like I said, maybe there is factors of communication, but it's more about communicating better, listening to your staff, listening to your students. I feel that just the transparency, making the public aware of things, the parents aware of things, which, like I said, I don't think that it's really flawed. I just feel like there is room for improvement from all aspects.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez. Next question is, what would you help to increase student involvement in academics and activities, and how would you contribute to them? Ms. Dominguez.
I know that in the past it was mentioned also about budget and stuff, but I feel that we can use our resources that we have within the school now. As you're the president of the student council, so I like using that, just becoming peer mentors to the other students, As a board member, I would love to attend the meetings. I would love to know what activities you're having and hopefully have maybe some input. I wouldn't want to have, but just listen to what you guys have planned and also participate in some of the activities and just make the school board more presence known within the schools.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez. Mr. Anderson, would you like me to repeat the question? How would you increase student involvement in academics and activities, and how would you contribute to them?
Probably ask the $64 question of the evening, because we have many variations within this community of parent involvement with students, students' involvement with school, and some of it is generation level activity, the way that the families appear and work within the school. So we've got to do everything we can do to motivate to get the student to school. Because once they're here, you can get them involved, get them into different activities, and hopefully encourage them to find something in the school, even if it's only one thing, that will draw them to stay and be more successful in school.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. The next question is from a Deming High School student. And it says, what will you do about bullying in our school district? Mr. Anderson. Oh, yeah. No, Mr. Anderson.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry. Okay, it's okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
The district and the schools are doing everything that the state and the federal governments require. We have all the policies, we have all the procedures in place. What you have to have, because that won't solve the problem, what you have to have is involvement from the student, from the teachers. You have to have a friendly relationship between the students and the administration, that when something is going on, they'll report it to the teachers and to the administration. It's the only way you can stop it. You can have all the policies in place you want, but if you're not aware of what's going on, you can't do anything about it.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Dominguez, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm okay. As far as the bullying, I know that they had mentioned some budgeting also in the past. My thing is I know at the last forum there was a social worker there that said that she worked with at-risk students. I've raised at-risk children, not my own, but what I have noticed is if you show them that you're going to be there, that you're listening to them and try to figure out a problem, because one of them probably was a bully, they need some kind of counseling. They need somebody that's going to show them, I'm looking for a word, like being stable, show them that you're not going to leave them in the moments they need you most. So.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez. Last question that is a student concern is, on Thursday, September 19th of this year, our school implemented the shelter-in-place for a weapon search. What would you do to ensure the safety of the students and staff of the school? Ms. Dominguez.
Having attended the last board meeting where they spoke about the partnership between the city of Deming, the county, and the schools, I feel that that's a very good program. Having the officer in the school, I do feel that it was communicated right away to parents, and I know that they did everything that they could, and I felt like when they speak about that partnership, that it does increase a feeling of safety for the students and for the staff. If there's any kind of training, I believe some of the staff has gone through that training already, but if it's valuable, I think that that would be great. But I do feel that the way the schools and everyone responded to that situation was great.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez. Mr. Anderson, would you like me to repeat the question?
That's great. The answer is training, training, training. If you listen to people from schools where they have had actual problems happen, and you listen to the reports that come back from them, the difference is in the training. Students, teachers, administrators need to know exactly what to do when a situation like that comes up. And if the better you can operate, and the better the outside authorities coming into the building know how to respond in the building, the more successful you can in dealing with this kind of an incident when it occurs.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Okay, and that wraps up our student concerns. I'm going to move on to parent, community, and teacher concerns. And our first question is what are your thoughts about our district's food systems and how would you address specific dietary needs? And then leave this question to Mr. Hanson.
Oh, goody. I know somebody mentioned earlier about how great the food was years ago in the schools. Well, it's because, quite honestly, years ago, we didn't have the feds and we didn't have the state telling us what we had to prepare every day. We were pretty much left alone and got to do what we wanted to do. But that's not the way it is today. They very much dictate what the menus are and how we have to prepare it and what has to be done every day. And I can only compliment our food service people for the job they do, because they do it under very difficult circumstances. They fix thousands of meals a day, and they're successful at it. It doesn't please every student. You're never going to. They just have to keep doing the best they can and continue to do what they can.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Dominguez.
I have to agree, when you are going through federal policies or state policies as far as how you can prepare the food. But I do agree that there can be better options. I've seen pictures where they show different countries that are serving areas of the food groups, and it's not just like slop, you know what I mean? And I do feel that at this level, there's different options for the higher grades, like secondary, but maybe to improve the elementary schools and give them more options without having to charge like a lunch fee. We're blessed to even be able to have the free lunch program. So it's just really going through their guidelines and trying to be more involved in what they're serving.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez.
Next question. One of the duties of the school board is to employ a superintendent for the school district. What, in your opinion, should be the role of the superintendent?
Ms. Dominguez.
I feel that the superintendent should be approachable and listen to the concerns, not only of his, like they said, that there's like a chain of command, correct? I feel that as it comes to his desk, that he should take every concern. We don't have the answer to everything, but make sure that the person feels that there is something that's going to be done about the concern. And not only that, go in and do observation in the classrooms. Be more appreciative of the teachers, show support to the teachers and to the staff, and even speak to the students. And go to a student council meeting and just get more involved in that way.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez. Mr. Anderson.
Pretty much it's what's been said tonight. You have to have a superintendent who's interactive with the schools and the community. The superintendent's got to be out in the community, see what the feelings are of the community, see what's happening, seeing what their questions are. But as well as the superintendent, he or she, has got to be able to go into the schools, see what's happening, and be able to make some very quick evaluations of the situation, make suggestions where needed, and complement where things are going well.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
The next question is from a teacher. There are many students who are failing math at the secondary level, and that's from our middle school and high school levels. Do you have any ideas about how to help our kids in this area?
Mr. Anderson.
Okay. It's a problem. It's a problem all over the state, across the country. But it takes a matter of organization, of getting students in. You've got to get students involved in curriculum and wanting to do it. I think we're making giant strides with that with the K-5 Plus program. These kinds of things are where the solution is going to be found, getting the kids here and getting good attendance, as we had this past summer. Even in our first year, our attendance was one of the best in the state. So it's giving the kids who need more assistance the assistance they needed, and if necessary, extra days in school to get them up to where they need to be.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Lewis.
Can you repeat the question, please?
There are many students who are failing math at the secondary level. Do you have any ideas about how to help our kids in this area?
I was one of them. Let me just say, math is not my favorite subject. It's not my strong subject. I do wish that maybe, I was a senior taking basic math, and now I know that there's fourth graders already taking pre-algebra. Like, that is unbelievable, like, to me, because, I was a senior taking basic math, but maybe offering more tutoring, even students coming down and helping kids after school. using our resources that we have within the students. But also, I think I got a lot of my credits doing vocational training. So I took the home ec program and the health occupation, and I got a lot of my credits through doing those kinds of programs.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez.
And our last question for parent, community, and teacher concerns. What is your opinion of the school district policies regarding students who speak English as a second language? And what will you do to assist those students?
Ms. Dominguez.
I answered a question on the survey about like what languages do your kids speak at home? I said English and Spanish. Both of my daughters were put into the program where they have to be tested out in order to get out of that program, which I feel maybe that it's to ensure that the bilingual children are tested out, like so they're learning English or as their second language. But I really like what they're doing with that because, like I said, like you have to be tested out. Unfortunately, my senior never tested out of that program, and it's because of the testing that they do is very literal. We speak a lot of slang in our language, so it just maybe tweaking that test just to help them a little bit better. So.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez. Mr. Anderson.
Again, it's one of those programs that's mandated and how it's structured and the way it works by the feds and from the state. The school district simply has to comply with their procedures. But beyond all that, providing extra help, we have many of the classrooms have EAs and ways of helping the students. One of the biggest handicaps in the program, someone said earlier, is the testing. We have students who have to take standardized testing in English because the state has never approved a test in another language. So there are handicaps that penalize the students. But overall, I think the district does a very good job of working with our bilingual students and all the help and assistance they give them to try to meet the Fed and state requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
And now we're going to move on to our closing question before we go into a 1-minute closing statement.
The last question is, what are 2 to 3 needs that must be priorities for our district to address, and why do you see them as needs, Mr. Anderson?
Well, basically repeating some of what I've already said. We need we do a good job in the district, but we need to do more to offer opportunities for students who don't want to go to college, and we have lots of those. We need to, even though we have one of the best vocational programs in the state, we need to expand it even more into other areas and other opportunities. One of the biggest problems is the lack of licensed teachers. That's a statewide problem that affects every district in the state. And we've simply got to find ways, not us ourselves, but we can help. But the state has certainly got to find ways to motivate people back into the education field.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mrs. Dominguez, would you like to repeat the
Yes,
question?
please.
The question is, what are 2 to 3 needs that must be priorities for our school district to address, and why do you see them as needs?
As I mentioned before, I feel that we need better communication. We need to be receptive to everyone's needs, community, teachers, children. I really feel that we need to reestablish the morale in this community between the schools, the public, and the school board. You know, it all has to come together. And I feel that if we do that, we can accomplish so much more.
Thank you, Mr. Dominguez.
And now we're going to move into our 1-minute closing statement.
Ms. Lorraine Dominguez started the opening statement, so we'll go to Mr. Anderson.
I am a longtime supporter of education. I've been involved in education in one form or another for 37 years. So I think I have a great deal of experience to offer to the community and to the school district, things we can help to strengthen our ideas and our prospects for what's going on in the district. I have a number of relationships and through organizations in the community that I belong to that I listen to and hear what they have to say about our schools and relate that information back to the schools. I have a very good relationship with many employees. I have employees who stop me in the restaurants and in the stores in town and ask me about issues that are going on and express their concerns, all of which I bring back to the school district. And in continuing on with the board, I would simply continue those practices and those policies to make Deming better for our students.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Dominguez.
As I mentioned before, I lost my train of thought. I'm just here to help everyone. You know, I feel that we can help everyone as long as we show support. I have my children in the schools. Like I said, I'm an active community member. I think my biggest challenge right now is being a write-in candidate and not being on the ballot exactly, but it's not about that. I'm not here to say vote for me. I just want you to make the change. If, like they said, progress is impossible without change. And I'm not saying that the schools or the school board is doing anything wrong, but there's always room for improvement.
Thank you, Mrs. Dominguez.
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Dominguez.